And there are two ways you can have marriage. You can have a marriage based on correspondence, or you can have a marriage based on contrast. And that, if you think about it for a minute, is such a beautiful concept when it comes to pairing food and wine, because it takes all the worry out of it. And you can love wine and food because they go together, or you can love wine and food because they don't. So just thought I'd throw that out there.
Beautiful.
That is good. I'm going to shamelessly steal that and claim it as my own at the next dinner. I'll tell you a little bit about the wine that's in front of you and that's just been poured to you.
This is crazy.
This is a wine that is not available outside of the Okanagan. This is a wine that I like to refer to as our early harvest Chardonnay. This is called Obrigado. For those, some of you will recognize the word obrigado as a Portuguese word of gratitude. Thank you. Obrigado is a word that I learned from the people who my brother and I bought our vineyard from, the Cerqueira family. If you look at our labels, we've called our vineyard the Cerqueira Vineyard. And it was probably 2 years ago, almost to this day, that David and I were having lunch in Toronto, correct? And we were talking about this new wine, this wine that I wanted to put out into bottles, and we were talking about the Cerqueiras and how gracious, graceful, beautiful, hardworking people that they are, the most honest, and the world can learn a lot from the Cerqueiras. And anyways, the word that I learned from them is obrigado, thank you. And we decided that there is no other name for this wine than obrigado. And I hope if you get a moment, there will be a bottle or two floating around the room. Please read the back label. It's a very important homage to João and Maria Cerqueira. Beautiful people. So I hope that you enjoy this wine. It's a very, as I said, it's a very early harvest Chardonnay, meaning that we didn't allow the sugars to accumulate too high. Therefore, the sugars in the fermentation were not converted into very much alcohol. So it's very light alcohol.
Nice.
And at the same time as the ripening with the grapes, being an early harvest, we picked the grapes before all of the acidity disappeared. So it's low alcohol and bright, crisp acidity, which to me translates into refreshment. Wine, as I've heard from somebody in the room, wine to drink by the pint.
So this dish, this is a Moroccan squid and octopus salad.
Wow.
And there are 4 cephalopods in the world, 3 of which we eat. And squid, cuttlefish, and octopus are those 3. In this part of the world, sadly, we don't have cuttlefish. The closest cuttlefish you might find would be perhaps the Caribbean, I suppose, shallow, warm water. What we do have is squid and octopus. And they're often looked down upon somewhat. You might use them for halibut bait or something. But octopus is wonderful. This is a bycatch of the pot crab fishery and the pot spot prawn fishery. And we also have this wonderful squid. And, they're great to eat and they're great to cook. And they're wonderful to put great flavors in. I think the flavor of squid and octopus is outstanding. We've taken this to Morocco. And it pains me to serve it to you like this because really it does need the preserved lemon in it. But you have to wait and try it without the preserved lemon and then try it with the preserved lemon. Of course, slurping wine as we go. The preserved lemon, for those of you that don't know it, preserved lemon is not dissimilar to wine in many ways. You've got too many grapes, but what the hell do you do with them? You don't let them all rot and go bad, you turn them into wine. You've got too many lemons, what do you do with them? You chop them up, you soak them in salt, and you turn them into preserved lemons, and thus you don't get scurvy during the winter. I mean, that's basically what it is. You think of cheese, you think of, beef jerky, no one was trying to make a delicacy. They were just trying not to die when they didn't have any. That's what they were trying to do. And this is exactly what preserved lemon is. So I think it goes so well with wine for that very reason. Do take a little bit. It's really strong. The flavour is outstanding. And the cumin, the black pepper, the coriander, the preserved lemon, the mint, the parsley, the cilantro. If you've been to Morocco, for a second, maybe it will come flooding back to you when you have a bite of this, I hope. Enjoy. It's the same as sole. It's not sole, it's flounder. And it's very good. It's a fish that isn't used a lot. And what I've done is done a goujon and served it with minted peas and proper tartar sauce. This morning I made mayonnaise, I cut everything chunky, folded it through, which is what tartar sauce should be as opposed to some gunk out of a bottle. So I hope you enjoy.
Thank you. Excuse me, while Dan has your attention, I'm going to steal it. I'll just quickly tell you about the wine that you're drinking with this. I was just explaining that we have a serious problem with this wine at my household. It evaporates immediately. This is Riesling, and this is the one wine that my brother and I grow that we don't grow. This comes from a vineyard which I consult to, and this is very interesting because this comes from Kamloops. This is a vineyard that I consult to. They phoned me up about 5 years ago and said, were talking to me about consulting to them, and I said, well, where's your vineyard? And they said, well, it's just east of Kamloops, next to the Lafarge concrete plant. Oh. And I think, what a horrible place to put a vineyard, you know. And then I realized, you know, mid-sentence, I realized, well, holy smokes, the reason that they are there is precisely why the concrete plant is there, limestone, and they are growing Riesling on limestone bedrock. And you know, the vine roots themselves don't come in contact with that bedrock, but the bedrock is all around. And what's happening is water runoff from this bedrock cliffs that are behind the vineyard is delivering, you know, the calcium carbonate, the mineral, the limestone to the vines. And one of the neat things about limestone is it dissolves so easily. And you know, plant physiologists will get a little bit in a knot when I say that the vines will take this up, because there's no scientific evidence that vines will in fact behave that way, but you can taste it. And in the absence of that limestone infused groundwater, this wine would taste completely different. So if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm fascinated by geology, the events of the geology, and the effects of the geology on our life, including on the wine. So this is a very special place, and this is a story that you're going to hear an awful lot about in the next 20, 50 years. 3 words: Riesling, Kamloops, and limestone. Very special combination, I think. So enjoy. Oh, sorry, there's a question.
What's the manipulation? What's the manipulation?
Oh, sorry.
Malt vinegar salt.
Oh, malt vinegar.
Fish, I think it's very important. Seafood is something I love, and it's something that I've learned somewhat, quite a lot about, both in the UK and Spain and here. And of course, we should make educated decisions when we're buying seafood, vital. We should also make educated decisions when we're cooking the bloody stuff. Because if you take a fish and you just take the fillets off and just eat the fillets, that's a really bad decision. You should take the fish and you should eat everything. Use the skin, use the bones, use the head, use every part of that creature. Fish is the last wild food we eat on a huge scale. I know some of us have some wild game, and that's beautiful. Maybe you own a rifle. Some of you have, wild mushrooms, and that's lovely. Maybe you own a knife. And we do that, and we pick blackberries walking to the bus, and that's great. But on a big scale, the last of the wild food is seafood, and we have to be very careful about how we conserve that. Rockfish comes as a bycatch, an incidental catch from the ground-set longline halibut fishery. Fact of the matter is, if you're putting 1,000 hooks down with half a herring on each hook, you're not just catching halibut. And rockfish is one of the fish you're going to catch, and my opinion has always been this: if it's dead on the deck of the boat, eat it. And that goes for skate and dogfish and sculpin and cabezon and lingcod and rockfish and all the other fish you catch from this fishery. Please enjoy. If there was ever Provence on a plate, it's now. Sauce vierge, confit of fennel, and a meaty fish like rockfish. We're serving it with red wine, quite rightly so. You don't have to serve white wine with fish. It's completely incorrect. You serve whatever the right wine to serve is, and you don't always have to drink white wine with fish. Fennel seed that's been toasted and not burnt, I hope. Bastion, very nice fennel seed. When I smelt it, oh god, it's beautiful. It's perfectly toasted. Have a little fennel seed on top. It's really going to accentuate the fennel confit. Enjoy.
Shall I tell you about the wine that you have?
You can try.
I can try. The wine that you have in your glass. By the way, this is beautiful glassware that they've given us today. This wine is a 2013 Merlot from our vineyard in Oliver. And you know, as I was going to spend 10 minutes, you know, saying that that you don't have to have red wine with red meat, but I guess that's been covered. The important point here, actually, I'm going to tell you about. Does anybody know what tannin is? It's this drying sensation that you get on your tongue and your cheeks, on the the mucous membranes in your mouth there, your gums. That comes from red wine. It's tannin. It comes from the woody material and from the skins of grapes.
Beautiful.
Tannin is very important in red wine, and tannin is immediately tempered by or softened by, bound up by protein. And protein can come in all shapes and sizes. It can be cheese, it can be white fish, it can be red meat. It could also be eggs. In the cellar, if we have a wine which is far too tannic, and my ambition is to never have this being a problem. If we were too aggressive with punching down the cap, macerating the wine too heavily,